Welcome to Meet the Author, where you can join in on insightful conversations with best-selling and award-winning indie published authors. Your hosts today are Rob and Joan, who themselves are indie published authors, book publicists, and paranormal investigators with Tampa Bay Spirits, based in Tampa Bay, Florida. Thanks for dropping by. And now, on with the show.
Hi, I'm Rob.
And I'm Joan, and we're really glad that you're either watching us live today or you're listening to us later on. We appreciate all of you. As always, we really enjoy the comments that you have to make. Paul Hollis says, "Good evening, Rob, Joan, and family." Yes,
Hey,
hail,
Paul.
hail, the gang's all here. Actually, our daughter and her husband and their two children are rock climbing at their gym, but we have the 3 cats and the dog here. So Dave Murray says, "Hi, Rob and Joan." Hi, Dave.
Hi,
Good to
Dave.
see you again. Oh, where's his book? We got your book.
Oh my goodness, it's in the other room.
I think it's in the other room, but we really appreciate it. It's a great book.
Okay.
Joe Conjal, author, says, "Hi, Rob and Joan."
Hi, Joe.
Hello, Joe. We're so glad that you're here, all of you.
Absolutely.
Marjorie,
hey,
dear.
Marjorie.
Hi, here I am again.
Thanks for
Hi, Marjorie.
dropping
Thanks.
by last night.
Yeah,
that
that
was a nice
was-
surprise.
That was really awesome. And thank you for all the kind words. And we saw that you said that you enjoyed the book, but Terry never put that up. So, but we appreciated it that you said that so much.
Yeah, and we mentioned our daughter and their family. Well, did lose everything in Hurricane Milton from the flooding. And so that's a ongoing process for them, and all the prayers and anything else, any other ways that you want to support is appreciated.
And a lot of you have already
And
supported
a lot of
them.
you have.
And so
those-
thank you so
those-
much.
Yes.
We
everything
really
has been,
appreciate it.
very
Marjorie
much.
Deering said, "I definitely enjoyed it." Thank you, Marjorie. Oh, Joe Conjal said, "Sorry about that. I was signed in under the wrong account, LOL."
Oh,
Well,
we
you are Joe
recognize you.
Conjal, the author, though.
There you go. Well, the reason I mentioned that was because I read a thing just before we came on about Rob and Marcy Korn up in Banner Elk, North Carolina. Their town is closed. It has been for a month. They're still dealing with the after effects of Hurricane Helene. Their entire sewer system for the town had to be rebuilt. And most of their water mains are destroyed. So they still don't have fresh water. They're still chugging along, lumping along, I should say. So any prayers and support that, you can offer up to Rob and Marcy Korn, that would be appreciated as well.
And they're authors also, and
Yes.
they've been on the show before. And
Yes.
they're really lovely people.
Right.
And also think of or pray for Chris Chrisman. His mom died
Right.
recently.
Yeah. Okay, now on to the news. Episode Rewind this Saturday will be Magnolia Bluff Crime Chronicles 2024 Reveal Part 2, the old episode Part 2. And that was April and Joe Conjal, actually. April Coker and Joe Conjal. And then next Wednesday on Meet the Author Live, that's November 6th, will be SM Stevens. And the only thing that I have of note at the moment is Magnolia Bluff Crime Chronicles book 29 is out now by James R. Callan, and that's When a Sure Thing Fails, it's called. It was released on the 15th of October and available at your favorite bookstore.
Yes. And
Especially
on Amazon. That's right.
Anyway, I think that's all I've got. Do you have anything else?
No, we want to bring on our author right away. Without further ado,
Did you want to mention this?
I do want to mention that. Okay, so this author is Saralyn Richard, and she has won Mystery Suspense Sleuth of Pencraft for the year. First place. That's pretty awesome. Congratulations, Saralyn.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you. Such a pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you. George
to have you.
Dismuke says, there you are. Here I am.
Hi, George.
And George, Saralyn is from your neck of the woods.
Yeah,
she's from Galveston.
Right. She's broadcasting live from Galveston.
She was supposed to be at the book signing that we had at Pier 6, but she had a previous engagement and she couldn't come. She'd been invited to it.
I'm on the list for next year.
There you go.
Yeah. Paul Hollis says, welcome, Saralyn.
Thank you, Paul.
So, Saralyn, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and about how you started writing?
Oh, sure. I have always wanted to write. I think maybe when I was 12 or 13 years old, I told my parents that I'm going to be a writer. And they said, no, you're not. And I said, why not? And they said, writing isn't a real job.
Whoa.
So they told me I had to be either go into medicine or teaching because, that was a real job. So I would love to have gone into medicine, but I faint when I see blood.
Well, that would be a
drawback.
That would not work.
Yeah, that was a killer right from the beginning. And so I went into education, and very reluctantly. But once I met students, did student teaching, I fell in love with teaching. And I realized here's where all the stories are. I mean, it's connecting with people, connecting with families, having different people, different ways of life, values, problems, challenges. It was just wonderful. It was a wonderful experience. And I taught and also went into administration, and I did school improvement consulting also. And all of those things kept me from writing. I still had the passion for it, but I just didn't have the time. And after I stopped traveling with the school improvement consulting, I settled down and started to write. And I started with a children's book, and it's called Naughty Nana.
Well, if you wait a second, I can bring that up so people can see it.
That's it.
And for all of you who can't see it, who are just listening, it's the picture of an old English sheepdog named Nana. And Naughty Nana has decided to run away with the toilet paper. Which we used to have a poodle that used to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is only one of the many things that our real Nana dog did. And she was just such a terrible puppy. She was so difficult to handle and very mischievous. And so I started making a list of all the things that she was doing, and I decided to turn it into a book. And the book is narrated by her. And that was the beginning of my author adventure. And writing a children's book is totally different, really, from an adult fiction book. You have a different audience, obviously, but people gravitate towards a children's book in different ways, and they like to read it over and over again, whereas your other books, they read just one time and one and done. So there are a lot of differences, but all of it was really fun, and it was a great start for my writing career. And then I decided to write mysteries. I decided that would be my first foray into fiction writing. And I had been at a birthday party in the very fancy, lush Brandywine Valley of Pennsylvania some years before. And I had thought at that time, this is like an Agatha Christie mystery. Because all these people had gathered. It was kind of a locked room mystery.
Yeah.
And somebody dies, and one of the guests has to be the killer because there's nobody else coming in or out. So I sort of filed that idea away and thought it would be fun to write about, and decided when it was time to write that would be my first book. So that started off as just a standalone book, just one mystery. And it takes place in Brandywine Valley, and it's called Murder in the 1%. And after it came out, people loved the detective so much that they were screaming for more books. So eventually that became a series. And I now have 4 books in that series, the most recent of which is the book that I would like to talk about tonight, and that is Murder Outside the Box. So those are my 4 series books. And then I have 2 standalone mysteries called, one is Bad Blood Sisters, and the other is A Murder of Principle. And that is sort of based on my time in the schools. So those are all my books. And I'm writing another one right now. And I have ideas for probably 3,000 more.
That's a lot of ideas.
We didn't touch upon Crystal Blue Murder,
Which is
part of the series that she was talking about, in A Palette for Love and Murder.
right.
So those are the other 2. I wanted to make sure that they heard those. And also we have a few comments before you go. George Dismuke says, make sure I have your email, Saralyn.
We'll be showing that at the
We will be
later
showing
on in the show, and I will make sure you get it, George.
Okay. And then Joy Shelton York said, hi, everyone. Sorry it took me forever to get in, but I'm here. It took you forever to get in. What is she on? Facebook?
Facebook, yeah. Huh.
Yeah, Facebook.
Facebook, that figures.
And Joe Conchel said, I love Locked Room Mysteries. And Marjorie Daring says, great covers. Yeah, they're very nice covers.
Thank you, everybody.
Joe Conchel said, hi, Saralyn. Have you ever thought of combining a kid's book with a mystery? Yeah, that's a good thing.
I have. And Naughty Nana does have a little mystery in it.
Cool.
I mean, it's 32 pages, so you can't
get too deep.
All of the tropes, but it does have a little mystery because Nana's, well, I won't give it away, but Nana's doing some things that are uncovered.
Right.
By the end of the book, you find out what has happened.
Yeah. And not just the toilet paper.
Right.
Well, that would be a good thing to do. A kid's mystery. We all read, like the Hardy Boys and the
and those were multiple reads, really.
Well, they were long series too.
Long series.
The Bobbsey twins, they were always getting into trouble and murder mysteries.
Drew.
Yep, Nancy Drew. Still being made into movies today.
Right.
I mean, they're all classics now, for sure. All right, let's bring your brand back up. So you said you did want to speak about Murder Outside the Box. So
I
tell
did.
us a little bit about that.
Well, that's the newest book, so that's why I'm happy to talk about it. And it's the book that just won the first place award from Pencraft. So I'm proud of that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in each book, I try to have a different premise, explore a different idea. I don't like for any of my books to be cookie cutter or where you think you've read this before. And so this book starts off with an abandoned baby on the doorstep of a caretaker's cottage in Brandywine Valley. And so that's the first mystery, because if you were going to abandon your baby, why do it at a caretaker's cottage when there are all these rich mansions there? If you'd want your baby to be well taken care of financially, you'd certainly want to leave it on one of those doorsteps instead. So Detective Parrott, who is the series hero, comes to investigate the baby and make sure that she gets taken care of with DCFS, protective services. And then he goes out to try to find the mother. And what he finds is a young woman who's dead on the grounds of one of the nearby, these are gentlemen's farms. And so he finds this woman, and she has recently had a baby. So he's thinking, okay, there's this abandoned baby, and then there's this mother who's just hours postpartum, and probably they go together. So he's trying to put that together, and he's having all kinds of problems with connecting those two crimes and then solving them. So the book touches on a lot of things that are in the news today, like infertility clinics and abortion and people who want babies and can't have them, and people who have babies and don't want them. So that irony has always stuck with me. I've always really wanted to explore that in a book, and this book is the book that I do that in. So it was really fun to write this book. I surprised even myself many times as I wrote this book. And I think readers are surprised by it too. I mean, there are a lot of fun things in it. Oh, thank you, Joy.
Shelton York says, read it, loved it. And
Thank
Paul Rushworth Brown says, hi from sunny Sydney. Hello, Paul. Well, that's nice, Joy. I'm glad that you enjoyed the book.
Yeah.
I actually have some writing partners in Australia. So, Paul, say hello to them for me.
Yeah, because it's just
there's
a little,
only a couple
little,
people there.
little country.
Just like Texas, people will say, "You're from Texas? Oh, you must."
Do
know.
you know so and so? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm from Massachusetts, and people would say the same thing about Massachusetts, and it is small, but no, I don't know them.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, people are funny people. Let's see. So
that's
the premise of
fourth one in the series, right?
Correct.
Right. And by the way, it is a crime to leave a baby on a doorstep.
Yep. You can bring them to a firehouse in most states.
A firehouse or a church or a hospital. And that kicks in the safe haven law.
Yeah.
Any other places, it's a crime.
Joe Conjal, since you surprised yourself with this book, can we assume you're a pantser?
You may assume. Yeah, I usually have a beginning, middle, and end in mind, or I start with my characters. With Murder in the 1%, I had big outlines of characters and who they were and how they related to the victim and what motivation they might have to kill him. But I didn't have the plot worked out at all. And when I was writing that book, there was a scene that I wrote. It was a horseback riding scene. And I knew who was going to be in it, and I knew why they were going on this ride. But what I didn't know is that there was going to be an accident on the ride. And that accident turns into a very pivotal plot point in the book that really the book would not have been as effective without it. And I didn't plan it. My character just ran away with the book.
Right.
Or I could say a horse ran away with
the book. A horse ran away.
And it really made the book a whole lot better. So I like to leave myself open for spontaneous things like that to happen. And I find that I get a lot more joy out of writing the book. And I used to teach creative writing. And I said to my students, you have to have fun when you're writing, because the fun will transfer to the reader. And if you're writing and you feel like it's a drudge, the drudge is going to transfer to the reader.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't have fun writing if I'm too regimented by an outline. I tried it. I listened to a webinar that was given by Jeffrey Deaver, and I'm sure that's a familiar name to some of you. And he just was really down on pantsers and saying, if you want to be a good writer, you have to have an outline. And he was giving all these reasons. And I thought, okay, he's someone I respect, so I'm going to try this. And I sat down and I tried to do an outline, and it just took all the joy out of the room. I couldn't do it. So yes, I am a pantser.
There you go. We need to take our first break. So stand by, everybody, and we've got a lot more to talk about. So don't go away.
This novel, set against the backdrop of the English Civil War, explores love and survival amidst the chaos of war. It combines historical events with personal narratives, highlighting the impact of conflict on individuals and families. England, 1642. When bloody civil war breaks out between the king and parliament, families and communities are driven by different allegiances. Red Winter Journey is a sweeping tale of adventure and loss, sacrifice and love, with a unique and unforgettable story of a mother's love for her son at its heart. A historic journey of twists, turns, and a dash of spirited passion.
I finished reading the book a couple of days ago. It was a great read. The plot was indeed compelling, and I loved the conclusion. What I particularly enjoy in Paul's novels is his vivid recounting of historical details as to the social and cultural sides at the time. His characters are very likable and relatable.
It's 1919, and Eric Laska returns from the war in Europe. Two new enemies await him in the small coal mining town he calls home. One is a threat to his relationship with Rebecca, the love of his life. The other, a bloodthirsty beast, is stalking the mining town residents. The townspeople suspect Eric of one of the killings. An old man and Rebecca's 11-year-old sister have seen the beast, but only Eric believes their story. To protect the town and clear his name, he's forced to prove the werewolf exists. Available on Amazon. The Horror Within by Marjorie Swift Doring.
Many secrets are hidden within the darkness of the jungle. Now comes part 4 in the Jaguar series by retired Hollywood scriptwriter George Dismukes. In this saga, Brandon, Andrea, and Naja, the Black Jaguar, go deep into the Mato Grosso jungle on a mission to rescue 2 kidnapped children. During their journey, they encounter many dangers, including Yanomami Indians, bent on revenge for the murder of one of their warriors.
Return of the Jaguar is book 4 in the Jaguar series, starting with 2 faces of the Jaguar, the Lost City, and the Jaguar's Quest. All 4 are available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and other bookseller websites worldwide. Return of the Jaguar is a must-read.
And we're back.
We are. I did want to give a shout out. I promised Dave Murray that we would show his book here. He sent it to us this week. Thank you, Dave. It's great and can't wait to read it. Breath of fresh air. Dave was on a couple weeks ago.
Nonfiction.
Last week?
Yeah, last week.
Must have been last week. Yep.
It was last week.
Time is just
so we
crazy.
have a few questions and comments. Chanel says, hello, beautiful peoples. Hello,
Hi, Chanel. We haven't talked to you in a long time.
I know. And she said she adores the Jaguar series. Our daughter does too. She wants to have Naja live at her house.
Naja. Yeah.
Who's a backblood, the Black Panther. The Jaguar. Oops, sorry, George. All right. So did I say that Marjorie said that?
No.
Okay. To me, following an outline is like writing in a straitjacket. And Joy Shelton York said, An outline is too limiting to me. I want my characters to be able to lead me and change the direction. Exactly. And Joe Conjal wants to know, was the Jeffrey Deaver class through Outlier?
No, it was through International Thriller Writers.
Okay.
So Chanel said, me too, my dog not so much. Dave Murray said, I agree with your feelings about outlines 100%. Good writing is an individual style. Agreed. Yep. And some people do write with outlines and they enjoy it, and good for them.
My husband,
Not good for me.
my husband and I argue about this all the time because he thinks that I should have an outline because that's how his mind works. So he had a really great idea for a mystery. And I said, well, why don't you write it? And he sat down, well, I'm going to outline it. So he sat down and he started this outline. Well, what he called an outline, I called writing.
Yeah, right.
It's in paragraph form. It wasn't an outline form. And I said, what's the difference between this and writing the book? He said, well, it's just an outline. I said, no, it isn't. So, people have different opinions. I think everyone's brain works slightly differently. And my brain wants me to have fun. And I have fun when I let my characters do the acting.
There you go.
Absolutely. I agree. We agree 100%. And I'm pretty sure almost everybody, well, I know the people that are commenting right now almost all agree. I know there's a lot more people listening who are not commenting. So if you really love to outline and you want to tell us why it's such a good thing, go ahead and give us a comment.
Yeah, put your 2 cents worth on that.
We know who does. Linda Pirtle does.
Linda does, yeah.
Steve.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. We know people who do.
Several
that do
people.
That outline.
But there's an awful lot of people that have a mix too of,
hybrid. Yep.
Hybrids
Yep.
where they've got we do some of that, but we do lean a lot more to the pantser side of things. But we put down anchors here and there, and we need to know where we're going. We like to know where we're going. We don't always stay with that.
One drawback I have found, and I have to be honest about this, is that without an outline, you can paint yourself into a corner.
Right.
And I have done that. I have gotten myself good in a corner. And it takes me some time to unwind that and get myself out of it. Where if I had an outline, that might not have happened. Right. And I'm actually in a corner right now. So,
well, there's a door behind you in the corner.
Chanel said, Robin Joan, did you see my announcement last week from Broder Hospital?
Nope.
And she said, I'm officially in remission.
Yay.
Congratulations, Chanel. Amen.
Yay.
That's wonderful.
You've been fighting for years with that.
Good job, Chanel. Good for you.
Awesome.
We were in Wisconsin for a wedding recently. Chanel uses an outline for her poems and short stories. Okay.
There we go. There's an outliner.
Yeah. I can't do it. It reminds me of being in English class. It really does. I mean, you had to do it, and so you did it, but I hated it. And
probably my least favorite subject, apart from math.
English?
Yeah, I didn't like.
I was an English teacher.
Whoops.
I liked.
No offense, but I didn't like it.
Well, I liked English.
Yeah.
Our kids literally called me Grandma Nazi, and they still do. I have one daughter that always announces me, "This is my mother, the Grammar Nazi." But when you're writing, you cannot write in correct grammar. It would be so stilted, nobody would read it. Wouldn't seem real. People don't talk like that,
Well, some people do.
Some people do.
Some people do, and that's part of character.
Yes. So Joe says, painting yourself into a corner is when you come up with your best solutions and
It
it might take a minute, but I always get my best ideas while in that corner.
There you go.
That's a positive thing to think about.
Yeah, for sure. And Chanel said, I got the habit from high school and it was the only class I got A's in. LOL.
That is
Well,
funny.
Good for you.
Might not make. Yep, we figured that out. Thank you, Joe. Yeah. Corners is where, Chanel says, corners is where, when my characters do reflections. Yeah. Yeah.
I have an interesting story about characters. My series protagonist is Detective Oliver Parrott. And he, obviously he started out in Murder in the 1%, and that was his first case as a detective. He's young, ambitious, naive, and an outsider in this very rich community of rich and powerful people. He's very much an outsider. But the funny thing about him is that he was not in my character outline. He was not even in my thought process when I came up with the idea for the book. I had all these people who came together for a birthday party, and they were the party guests. And one of them was going to end up dying, and one of them was going to end up being the killer. And I was so involved in those people that I didn't even think about the detective. And it was about a fourth of the way through writing the book that I was like, okay, I need a detective. And here comes this guy into my head. And it's like, he's the main character. And he wasn't even on my radar when I started writing the book. So I had to, when I was doing revisions, I had to go back and put him in at the very beginning of the book, so that people would recognize that this is the protagonist. And now, after 4 books with Detective Parrott, he's someone I know so well. He is probably the fictional character I know better than anyone else. And he's a wonderful guy, but he was an accident.
Joy Shelton York said, I read Murder in the 1% too. Detective Parrott is a wonderful character. So she read that also. Chanel says, do you write better in a messy office space or an organized space? I need piles to sort out.
I love that question, and I wish you could see this, this room that I'm sitting in. What you're seeing back there is my husband's side of this office. My side, his side is pretty neat. My side is really, I've got piles, just like yours. And the funny thing is that I am a very, very organized person. My closet is color-coded. My calendar is color-coded. My house is really neat all the time. I'm kind of obsessive about having a neat, clean kitchen and bathroom, but my desk is a mess. And I can't work if it's too neat. I have to have these different piles of things, that characters' names and, things that I need. I have to be able to put my hands on them.
Just call them resource piles.
Yeah,
right?
But definitely about your characters' names and what their description is and their age and all that kind of.
Go grab
I mean, you've got to be
yeah.
able to grab that, because you keep forgetting.
Sticky notes a lot.
Yeah, because otherwise you forget.
Right.
And then they end up with blonde hair when they started out with red. That's not good.
But that's possible. But sometimes they change eye color.
Well, that's
the
true.
eye color is a bad one, yeah.
Marjorie Deering said, the chaos of creativity. Exactly.
And that's the truth.
Yeah.
It really is true. You have to be able to remember a lot of details in a 100,000 word book. There are millions of details.
Yeah.
And so I have piles for every little thing.
Yeah. And you need that. And you need that. And you need to remember what all their names are. And you need, Joe will attest to the fact that writing from Magnolia Love Crime Chronicles is a whole different thing, because you have to remember everybody else's characters and what they look like and how old they are too. And all the places that they've
from all the books previous. So
yep.
so that's a challenge.
It's a lot of chaos. Joy Shelton York says, I am a huge sticky note person too. Sometimes I forget what the note refers to. You're like, that's a good note. I don't know what it's talking about, but it's a very good note.
Or it fell off of the pile that it's supposed to be on.
Yeah.
You don't know which pile it's supposed to go back on.
It wasn't very sticky then. So Chanel says, my last short story is about an old family recipe. I give details on how to make fry bread and watermelon jam. Ooh, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Conjal says, exactly. I use the other books as my Bible for that series. Right? Yes. Right. And Joy says, right. Yes. Well, okay. We've still got time to talk. I'm amazed.
Yeah. How's this happening?
I know. So I wanted to ask you a question. How do you know how the 1% lives? Because I would not have a clue. Unless you've got a lot of 1%er friends, which I'm assuming you probably do not.
Maybe she does.
Yes, maybe she does.
She's from
She'll
Texas.
tell me in a minute. Yeah. Was the research for that easy, difficult? What?
A lot of research. I do have a relative that lives in Brandywine Valley and is in the 1%. And by the way, I've done a lot of research about what it takes to be in the 1%. And I've done it various years and it's just gone up. But for a while, it was $10 million. So no, I'm not in the 1%. But I do know some people who are. And this community of Brandywine Valley is really such an interesting place. If any of you have ever been there, say so in the comments. And if you haven't been there, you should go, because it's so interesting. It's a unique part of the country, very historical. There was the Battle of Brandywine and the Revolutionary War. There's a lot of geographical topography kind of things that are very interesting. And they have preserved the wide open spaces there. There are a lot of horse farms. There are a lot of artists, because supposedly the light to paint is better there than anywhere else in the country. So Andrew Wyeth and all of his family started an art colony there that has developed into quite a big group. And they have a Brandywine Museum of Fine Arts that is just superlative. It's a small art museum, but it's really a great place. So one of my books is about the art community. One is about the horse community. One is about the bank barns there. And all of this required research. But the people there are so friendly and they are so welcoming. If I call somebody cold and say, I'm writing a book and it's set in Brandywine Valley, can you help me with thus and so? They're all very forthcoming with information. I think I have one person turn me down. And they have done things. They've invited me to parties. They have featured me in magazines, local magazines. So they've just embraced me because they're excited to have books that are set in their community. So
I would guess the Palette for Love and Murder is about the artist community.
Right.
And then you said one is about horses. Which one is
that was Murder in the 1%.
Okay,
and
so that was Murder in the 1%.
And Crystal Blue Murder is about the bank barns. That's a bank barn in the back that is exploding in a meth explosion.
Oh,
ooh, ouch.
Oh,
And these bank barns they're not banks. They're built into banks of dirt so that the hay loft, you can enter the hay loft so that while it's on the second floor, it seems like it's on the first floor. So you can get a lot done. And plus the bank of dirt insulates the barn so that in the old days when the horses were living there, they were kept warm during the cold winters.
Sure.
Now the bank barns are quite old, but there's a preservation society that forbids them to be torn down. They can be rehabbed, but they cannot be torn down because they're of historical interest. So one thing that was happening during COVID is there were meth labs going on in these bank barns because they're out in the middle of nowhere. You know, they're very remote. One house is, you know, a couple of miles maybe from another house. And so it's easy to hide in these bank barns. And so some of them were used as meth labs. And that's where I got the idea for Crystal Blue Murder. And then the Murder Outside the Box has to do with the topography of the area. They have some very interesting rock formations and other kinds of rocky ground, and that plays a part in this book.
Cool. We need to take our last break.
And then we have some more
We've
comments.
got some more comments, and we're going to tell everybody where to reach you and all that. So don't go away, folks.
Okay.
The clock is ticking. Can Gracie uncover the truth?
Philip Pliant is the wealthy opportunist plastics dealer and CEO of Pliant Industries. He's also a master thief, creating a pervasive threat to the manufacturing infrastructure in the Caribbean islands markets. With the cartel as his stealth client, the naive city leaders have been seduced, enabling the production of more than three-dimensional building materials.
The expected profits are monstrous.
Is the art group, now led by Gracie and the family heirs, strong enough to win against this predator?
Can JJ's cats act on the root cause analysis in time?
Will Gracie be able to squash Pliant and the cartels?
Gracie never considered their lives would hang in the balance. The clock is ticking. 5, 4, 3.
Have you wanted to publish your story? Have you thought about self-publishing? Today is your day. 5-star Amazon review. Self-publish your ebook on Amazon for free in 2024. This ebook is available on Amazon by Becca L. Jones.
Paradise, my prison. Charlie Flint awakens from a deep sleep and finds himself alone on a tropical beach surrounded by a palm tree jungle and exotic animals. He cannot remember who he is or anything about his life. First, he must find food and build shelter and protect himself from hidden dangers. As his memory gradually returns, it reveals what a very flawed person he is. A man who made too many mistakes, made too many enemies. The implications of the truth are staggering. How did Charlie get there? And will he save himself? Paradise, My Prison is the riveting new suspense thriller from retired Hollywood scriptwriter George Dismukes. Paradise, My Prison by George Dismukes is available in jacketed hardcover, softcover, and all ebook formats worldwide.
And we're back.
We are.
So Joe Conjo would like to know, what kind of marketing do you do for your books and what works best for you?
It's a great question. I do everything. Everything that I learn about, I try. And what works best for me is people, connecting with people. I do not get the same return on investment from ads that I do from my email list, for example, my newsletter. because the ads are going to anonymous people, and they're seeing, well, I love these trailers that you've shown, and I want all of those books. So those are effective. I do have book trailers also, and I think that those are effective as well. I would say trailers and email list, and in-person events are the most effective.
Texas is big on in-person events, I think.
Yeah.
Texas is a good place to do, to do book signings and that kind of thing.
Book clubs too. I
lots of book clubs.
Yeah. But I, especially over COVID, I started going to book clubs on Zoom, and that has worked out really well. And I'm still doing that, even though we're back to in-person things. I'll go in person if it's close by, but if it requires traveling, I just go on Zoom. And it's a lot of fun because you get to hear what, first person, you get to hear what people really thought about your book. And, they give you that feedback that is so important.
Yeah.
We learn so much about our craft from reader feedback. And
it's great to know that when you laughed, they laughed, and when you cried, they cried. I mean, that's...
And sometimes they see things that you didn't see.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, yeah. And I really believe that when I'm writing the book is mine. But when I publish the book, it's theirs.
Yeah.
And so if a reader sees something in the book that I didn't intend, then it's there. That's real for that reader. And so it's interesting to learn what they see. You don't always get the opportunity to hear that.
Right.
So I would say book clubs are another very, very important part of my marketing strategy.
Are there any book clubs that you would recommend?
Oh, yeah, to
the
other
audience?
authors. Mm-hmm.
No, because to start off with, I was recommended by a friend to some book clubs. And then I went to those book clubs, and then they recommended me to other book clubs. And so word of mouth is, this is an author that goes to book clubs.
Okay.
And so they have really come to me since then. I don't really go.
So people maybe could search Facebook for book clubs on there, and maybe get a start there, get their feet in the water, so to speak. Right?
Or ask, if you're friendly with other authors, ask them if they will recommend you to their book clubs.
There you go. That's an idea.
And because that's pretty much how I got started, was another author gave my name out.
Perfect.
And I go to the same book clubs every time I write a book. It's like, okay, we want you back. And it's wonderful.
That's good.
That is good. That is good.
Chanel says, tomorrow's my 51st birthday. Come have cake with me, Joan and Rob. Yeah, happy birthday, Chanel.
I love cake.
Marjorie Deering said, congratulations, Chanel. And Chanel said, thank you. Well, that's very interesting. Let's get on to your banners now. Where to find you. Okay, so this is Saralyn's website. It's saralynrichard.com, and that is spelled SaralynRichard.com. And Saralyn, people can find everything that they need to know about you there, right? All of your social media and all that kind of thing.
Right. You can sign up for my newsletter, and then you'll get a monthly email from me with a lot of fun content. And my email address is also on that website. So you can email.
We've got that out here.
Well, we've got that for people too. And Saralyn's email is saralyn@saralynrichard.com. And that's SARALYN @ SARALYNRICHARD So you can email her there, and you can go to the website and sign up for her email and for her newsletter. And do you have a blog on there also?
I blog on a couple of different sites, but not on my website.
Okay. Does your website tell where to find you blogging?
Yes.
Or no?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Good. So people can find all of that on your website.
They sure can.
Thank
Thank you
for
for spelling everything, because there's 100 ways to misspell my name.
There is, for sure.
Yeah. And especially names like Sarah and Lynn, and you said even Richard is misspelled often. Joe Conjal said, I'm not sure if you already said this and I missed it. Does your series have to be read in order, or can they be read as standalone?
Thank you so much, Joe, for asking that question. They can be read as standalones. Each one, there is an order and there's a progression, but there are no spoilers. So you can actually jump in. I say you can get on the bus at any stop. And something else I wanted to mention before, when I was talking about the rich people that I am not, I also have friends who are in very impoverished circumstances. And I think that's one of the things that makes my life so rich, is that I know so many people at really all sides of the spectrum. But when I worked, when I was a teacher and school improvement consultant, I specialized in the underprivileged high school. And so a murder of principal takes place there. And so I think if you read my books, you'll see that I did more research for the rich people than I did for this book, because I really lived that experience. But I'm comfortable with both. And that's one of the things I love about writing, is that I can write just about in any setting.
Yeah. And none of us hopefully have committed murders, but we write about murder, quite a few of us. So, I mean, and none of us are detectives or anything like that, but yeah.
Detective wannabes.
Yes, definitely. Here's another comment. Joy Shelton New York said, I read number 1 and number 4, and it was fine. Yeah.
Thank you.
Now you can read number 2 and number
2 and 3 are available.
Yeah, there's a dinner party in Murder in the 1%, and it's a very lavish dinner party. It's a 9-course meal with wine pairings for each of the courses. And I had some help putting that menu together from somebody who does that, who gives those kind of dinner parties. And he said to me, if this book makes the bestseller list, you have to give me this dinner party. So then I was writing a blog one time, a post about the wines, just the wines at that dinner party, and I priced them out. And then I just recently repriced them with inflation, and just the wines came to $48,000.
Wow, that's crazy to think about, isn't it?
Wines.
Yeah. And some people are even, well, you said 10 million used to be the standard, but when you think about it, most CEOs make more than that every year. And then they, not to mention their golden parachutes. So I'm sure it's gone up quite a bit since then, with people like Jeff Bezos and, and all of these people.
But the theme is really that they are very similar to the rest of us. They still have problems. They still have money problems, even with all that money, because they own a lot of stuff, and all that stuff has to be kept up, and they have people that work for them, staffs of people that work for them, and those people have to be supported. And so, they have the same kind of problems that everybody else has, and their lives are way more complicated.
Yeah, well, people are people.
Right.
Whether they're very wealthy or very poor, and everybody wants the same thing, right? If you want to have a partner and have a loving relationship, and if you want to have children, then you want your children to be happy and healthy. And I mean, those are all common things to people all over the world, no matter who they are. Even Detective Parrott. I haven't asked, is he married or is he a single guy?
Well, in the first book, he's engaged.
Oh, okay.
And his fiance is a Navy SEAL in Afghanistan.
Wow.
She's not really in the book, except that they FaceTime with each other once a week. But that's all I'll tell you
about his love life and his marital status.
A major character in the series.
Yeah. Excellent. And as you said, you didn't plan him, he planned you.
Right. Right.
He decided to meet you and say, hey.
He lives here with us.
I'm sure that's true. We have ghosts that follow us around all the time. Actually, we have ghosts that follow us around all the time. That are not in the last book we wrote. Fortunately. Missy is editorializing again.
Yeah. Okay.
Why don't you say that out loud one more time? Oh, I think our family came home.
Well, that could be. Website for Saralyn Richard is saralynrichard.com. And that's SARALYNRICHARD if you missed that before. And her email is saralyn@saralynrichard.com. So get a hold of her, buy her books, enjoy them, and leave a review, a good review for her.
And thank you so much, Saralyn, for being on the show tonight. It was a lot of fun, and we enjoyed learning about all of your books. Could you bring up Naughty Nana again? Because that's such a sweet book. Yeah. That's so cool.
Thank you for inviting me, and thank you everyone for coming and for your comments and questions.
Joe Conjal says, wonderful show tonight. Thank you, Saralyn, and of course, Rob and Joe. Go Yankees.
Yankees. Oh, we had to get that in there, eh?
Good night. Thanks, Rob, Joan, and Saralyn. That's Marjorie Deering.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Good night,
Paul says, another wonderful show. Thank you, Rob, Joan, and Saralyn. And Joyce Shelton York said, great show. Good night, all. Yes.
Okay. We're going to move you over to the side. Thanks so much for joining us. And stick around until we come back to you. Did want to just show Dave's book one more time here, A Breath of Fresh Air. If I can get it up there.
And
there we go.
Good night, Dave.
Dave Murray. Thank you, Dave, for sending that. Next week.
Good night, George.
Good night, George. Yep.
Good night, Chanel. Sorry.
Good night, everybody. Anyway, next week we've got SM Stevens, same place, same time, next Wednesday. And I guess until next time.
That's all, folks. Good night.
Night, guys.
Live every Wednesday, your Voice of Indie hosts Beam Weeks and Stephen Gees welcome authors, musicians, publishing industry pros, artists, and assorted creative guests for an exciting interactive hour. Call in during the show or post questions and comments on Twitter for responses in real time. Meet your favorite indie creators, learn inside tips, network, and promote your work. The link for each week's show is pinned on Twitter atop @VoiceOfIndie, and you can receive the link every Wednesday morning in your inbox by subscribing to our newsletter at freshinkgroup.com. Check out Voice of Indie every Wednesday on Blog Talk Radio and catch hundreds of episodes archived everywhere from our websites to our YouTube channel and Spotify.
Thank you for joining us here on Meet the Author. Make sure you stay up to date with our show by clicking like, follow, and share. And you can find us on Spotify, iTunes, and more. See you next time on WLFE-DB.com.